It's caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the.
What's up, guys? Lance the Obscure Movie Guy coming to you once again with another fun-filled, fact-filled video that you probably don't care about, but we're going to do it anyways, trying to change the world one post at a time. And today we're going to talk about, unfortunately, Fred Ward. We lost him over the weekend. A legendary character actor best known as Earl Bassett in 1990's Tremors. Obviously a cult hit starring him and Kevin Bacon about underground worms that come out of the ground and eat people in the desert. And it is a fantastic movie. But he was a lot more than just Earl Bassett. He was a good character actor. He was a blue-collar kind of guy, often used for blue-collar characters, a lot like Earl Bassett. He played Joe Dirt's dad in Joe Dirt. He played the dad in a lot of stuff. He played the dad in Sweet Home Alabama for Reese Witherspoon's character. He also played Sheriff Phillips, which was the dad for Sean Patrick Flannery's character in Best Men, which is another movie I will go over at another time. But he was never really a household name, but a lot of people that are fans of Tremors, which is a really good movie, they all kind of know who Fred Ward was. Even if you didn't know his name, you often associated him with him. Hey, that's the guy from Tremors. You know, it was one of those, hey, I've seen that guy before. I've seen him in Tremors. You may not know Fred Ward's name, but you knew who he was. And everybody, fans, critics, celebrities, actors, they all liked him. Really nice guy. Nobody really had anything bad to say about Fred Ward, and had a career that spanned, nearly 50 years. So props to him on that, going all the way back to the 70s, and I think maybe even the late 60s. But unfortunately hasn't really done anything since 2015. He's been kind of out of the spotlight, and obviously passed away over this past weekend at the age of 79. So thought now would be a good time to at least touch on some stuff that he had done. Aside from Tremors, because everybody knows Tremors. That's not even an obscure movie. It's obscure because of the storyline, but it's pretty well known, and definitely a cult classic. But he was so much more than Earl Bassett from Tremors, and I wanted to touch on that, and going back into some of the early 80s type stuff, where he wasn't quite a household name, and I did find a couple of... I did find a really obscure one from 1982 that was pretty fun to watch. Lyle Swann, Timerider, The Adventures of Lyle Swann. Check this out. Timerider, The Adventures of Lyle Swann is a 1982 science fiction western film directed by William Dear, starring Fred Ward as Lyle Swann, a cross-country dirt bike racer in the 1980s who was mistakenly sent back in time to 1877. Lyle Swann is a well-known dirt bike racer who was in the desert competing in the Baja 1000. Swann has a reputation for being a great rider, but is plagued by technical problems from the high-tech gadgetry that he incorporates into his XT500 Yamaha dirt bike. Swann accidentally goes off course and stumbles upon a time travel experiment that utilizes maser velocity acceleration to send objects back in time. Swann rides through the field as he gets sent back to November 5th, 1877. The scientists in charge of the experiment soon realize what happened, but Swann rides off unaware of what has happened to him before he can be returned to the present. While taking a swim break at a local pond, he runs into a gang of outlaws led by Porter Reese, who becomes obsessed with stealing Swann's motorcycle. And the outlaws pursue Swann into a small village of San Marcos, but his red suit and his dirt bike scare the local Mexicans, who dub him El Diablo, the devil. There, he meets a beautiful woman named Claire, who gives him a safe place to hide and who severely wounds one of Reese's men, Carl Dorset. The village priest compels them to withdraw, but Reese continues the plot of trying to capture Swann's dirt bike. Later in the village, Claire is kidnapped by Reese's henchman Claude Dorset as revenge for her shooting and wounding his brother Carl. They also manage to capture the dirt bike, leading to a series of comedic hijinks, while Swann gets help from two U.S. Marshals named Potter and Daniels, who are trying to capture and kill the gang. Potter has a personal vendetta against Reese, for Reese killed Potter's son 2 years previously. Swann manages to retrieve his dirt bike and rescue Claire, while Potter is killed by Reese in an ambush, and Daniels is mortally wounded later and dies. Now, by no means is this like a great movie, but it is pretty fun. It's 1982. The special effects are kind of cheesy. The storyline's kind of incoherent from a time travel point of view, but nonetheless, it's a fairly fun movie to watch, actually, and Fred Ward does what Fred Ward does. Great actor, blue collar, and plays the character really well. So, definitely a good time to at least watch once. Timerider, The Adventures of Lynn Swann. And playing on that, moving forward, we're going to check out another film from the 80s, 1985. I actually did a blog for the Mustache and the Beard back in March on this exact film. My cat says hi. And it's an interesting movie. I do enjoy it. I kind of wish... Again, it's another movie that's not great, and I kind of wish it would have gone a little better, because I think it would have done great things for Fred Ward's career. But we're going to look at 1985's Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins. Remo Williams' The Adventure Begins is a 1985 action-adventure film directed by Guy Hamilton, starring Fred Ward, along with Joel Grey, J.A. Preston, Wilford Brimley, and Kate Mulgrew. The character is based on the Destroyer pulp paperback series featuring the character Remo Williams. As it goes, Williams starts life as a hardened Brooklyn cop by the name of Sam Macon. Macon is a Vietnam War Marine veteran who is unwillingly recruited into a secret U.S. organization called CURE that was started by President Kennedy many years before. Macon's death is faked, and he undergoes surgery to get a new face. Along with his face, he is given a new name, Remo Williams, after the name and location of the manufacturer of the bedpan that he was using in the hospital. He is then trained by Master Chien in the fictional martial arts style of Sinanju, which seems to give Remo superhuman abilities such as super strength and the ability to run on water. Remo is then sent by CURE to investigate a corrupt weapons procurement program within the U.S. Army. The film was supposed to be one of many. Ward was originally signed on to do 3 films. Despite his best efforts on and off screen, the movie did so poorly that it never got a sequel. So, truth be told, I'm actually a big fan of Remo Williams. It was definitely an interesting movie. I would definitely recommend it for everybody to at least watch once to try and see and understand what the movie was about. Unfortunately, I don't think it was executed very well. It is a really good idea. In fact, the Destroyer paperback series has like 153 books to its credit, with the most recent one coming out in 2019, and plans for more to come out again in the future. So, Remo Williams, the character, has a long history of being in some sort of media. My cat is saying hi again. Yes, I hear you. And it's a shame because the movie, it was distributed by Orion Pictures, which was really big back in the 80s. They had some people come from the James Bond team for producing and writing. Special effects were actually pretty good in the movie, and it did get it got an Academy Award for Best Makeup for Master Chien, which is a white guy done up as an old Korean guy. I mean, it is the 80s. Whitewashing was still very prominent throughout the course of the industry. But Remo Williams is one of those movies. It's I don't want to say it's so bad that it's good. It's an interesting movie to watch. It really wanted to be a good movie. It really did, and they had all the right pieces, but it wasn't executed very well. There was a big scene towards the end of the movie that got cut out. That wasn't done because of budgetary issues. And when you watch it, it's hard to explain. Like, the movie wants to be serious, but it flip-flops back and forth between being a serious movie and then almost being something that comes off as campy. And it didn't do either one of those very well. But I do kind of wish it had done well and done better. As I said, Fred Ward had signed on to do at least 3 picks, or 3 pictures, I should say. But it just didn't do well, so they never did a second one. So I think if it would have done well, I think it would have taken his career in a whole different direction, and I would have loved to have seen Fred Ward in more movies where he was, in fact, the leading man. That being said, I did a whole blog on this for the mustacheandthebeard.com back in March. I'm going to leave the link in the description of the video below. By all means, go check it out. I've got it packed full of all kinds of information on the movie, behind the scenes information and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave the link in there. Be sure to go over to the mustacheandbeard.com, check it out, and check out all the other cool stuff that they're writing about. And the last video I want to talk about, we got to go back to what he is best known for, Tremors and Earl Bassett. But instead of talking about Tremors, the first one, because that is the best one, we're going to take a look back at 1996's Tremors II. Tremors II Aftershocks is a 1996 direct-to-video sequel to Tremors, starring Fred Ward, Christopher Garton, and Michael Gross. Earl Bassett returns from the first film and is hired to deal with a subterranean graboid infestation at a Mexican oil field. After spending all of the reward money from his first encounter with graboids, Earl Bassett agrees to hunt more of the deadly creatures at a Mexican oil refinery for $50,000 each. Knowing that he cannot face the monsters alone, Earl recruits Burt Gummer, another veteran of the incident in Nevada, to supply the firepower. There is only one problem: the graboids have now evolved into creatures that are able to attack above the ground. Reviews for the film were mostly positive, with some critics labeling it one of the best direct-to-video sequels ever made. TV Guide gave the film a positive review, saying the movie is a rarity among direct-to-video sequels, one that's not only worthy of its theatrical predecessor, but suggests that it too belongs on the big screen. Despite the significantly lower budget, the monsters remain entirely convincing. Ty Burr of Entertainment Weekly gave the film a mixed C+, calling it definitely not as bad as a lot of straight-to-tape sequels, and further praised the acting, cinematography, and special effects, but gave negative criticism to the film's second half, saying the movie becomes bald-faced limitation of Jurassic Park. So interestingly enough, even though it was straight-to-video, it did really well with the test screenings. It did really well at the film festivals. And they actually pushed for a theatrical release for Tremors 2 for actually a couple years. Now, the film was originally supposed to be made with a $17 million budget, and they were supposed to secure Reba McEntire and Kevin Bacon to come back and reprise their roles. However, filming was done in 1994, and Reba McEntire was actually on a world tour or something like that, and there was scheduling conflicts. She couldn't make it. Kevin Bacon was actually interested in doing Tremors 2, but he decided to do some off-the-cuff movie called Apollo 13. I don't know what that was about, but Kevin Bacon went on to do Apollo 13, so they dropped the budget from $17 million down to $4 million, and that's when it was like, well, it's going to be straight to video. We don't have the big stars. Obviously, Fred Ward, even though he was Earl Bassett, not a big enough star power to put it into a theatrical release. But him and the director, S. Wilson, actually went on. They really pushed for it to get a theatrical release. And like I said, they actually pushed it for a couple years. The film didn't officially get released until 1996, even though filming was done in 1994. So there you have it. 3 Fred Ward movies in honor of the screen legend, character actor, and all around good old blue collar guy. So please like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel. Share the video. And be sure to check out these movies. Check out Tremors 2. It's a lot of fun. So is Tremors. We didn't talk about it a whole lot, but you can't not talk about Fred Ward without mentioning Tremors. Check out Remo Williams. Definitely an interesting movie. I really wish it would have done better. One of those things, maybe Hollywood should do a remake of that. Something that could have been great and should be redone to make it great. Not something that was already amazing and then screwed up. And then be sure to check out Timerider, The Adventures of Lyle Swann, where he gets sent back to November 5th, 1877. November 5th. I feel like that's an important date for some reason. I don't know. It'll come to me. But I will catch you guys in the next one.
Remember, remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder, treason, and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgotten.
Here's a red letter date in the history of science, November 5th, 1955. Yes, of course, November 5th, 1955.
What? I don't get what happened.
That was the day I invented time travel.